to Glitter Goddess Yoga. My name is Am. Today we'll be doing a stretch flow, yoga stretch. So it'll really be about flexibility, mobility, holding stretches, being really intentional about the elongation of the muscles. And these classes are in collaboration with Providence Community Library, so shout out to PCL. Check out their YouTube and all their other virtual offerings. These classes are an engagement for a walking meditation album I'm working with South Providence Library on. You can check out our website or Facebook for more information with the Glitter Goddesses, theglittergoddesscollective.org. So, of course, because I can't respond to your bodies in real life, in person, I ask that you move really intentionally in between poses. Think about how to take care of yourself best. You don't have to listen to every single one of my cues. If you want to lay down the whole flow, that's okay. If you want to take part of the flow and then just chill in Shavasana, that's totally okay. So everything I offer is an invitation, and be really gentle with yourself. Please avoid any pops, pinches, snaps, and especially when we're thinking about stretching and maybe moving into out of our comfort zone with how we stretch certain muscles in the body. In today's flow, just please be really intentional about and in tune with how you're feeling. So we'll get started. I will suggest a pillow, a blanket, and some water, some hydration, and we will start seated. The lights are moving now. Okay. So we'll start by just tapping into the natural breath. You can close your eyes or find a soft gaze. And just notice what the breath feels like. Notice what it sounds like. And if you can, from here, begin to elongate each breath, stretching the inhales out longer, allowing the exhales to go deeper. Continuing to elongate each breath. Noticing thoughts or sensations, allowing the thoughts to pass by, allowing the sensations to be felt. And from here, we'll inhale to roll the shoulders up and back. Exhale to release and relax. Inhale to roll the shoulders up and back. Exhale to release. Inhale up. And exhale, release. From here, we'll drop the head to the left side, keeping the right shoulder down and back. We can grab the side of the head with the left hand, just allowing the elbow to hang heavy here. Don't pull. You want to be gentle on these delicate muscles as we stretch them in the neck. You can slowly start to turn toward the shoulder to grab the back of the head. Again, keep that right shoulder down and back. From here, we'll switch to the other side, leaning to the right, grabbing with the right hand. And then slowly turn toward the shoulder, grabbing the back of the head, keeping a tall, long spine and left shoulder down. And when you're ready, release. Again, we'll inhale the shoulders up. Exhale, release, noticing any different sensations here. Inhaling up, feeling into the neck, into the shoulders. Exhale, release. Just notice the looseness here. Inhaling up. And exhale, release. Take a moment to just wiggle out the shoulders, maybe drop the head from side to side. Just feel into the neck, noticing the difference in sensations after just lightly stretching out the sides and back of the neck. From here, we'll start to roll out the wrists. And we'll flip the palms facing the fingers toward the body. Just start to press the fingers into the floor, opening up, stretching the forearms, the wrists, maybe adding some topical heat, loosening up the fascia. And release. You can use each hand to press the back of the hand into the back of the palm, opening up and stretching the other side, maybe rotating in the elbows. And shake it out. From here, we'll drop the right hand to the right side, lifting the left arm up and over, stretching the left side body. Tapping back in with that slow, controlled breath. We'll take a big, deep inhale here. And on the exhale, let's switch to the other side. Again, we'll take a nice, big, deep inhale here. And as you exhale, let's come back up to center. From here, we'll inhale, finding length in the spine, and bring the left hand to the right knee, right hand behind us to exhale into a twist. Finding that complete rotation from the bottom of the spine all the way up to the top, completing by turning all the way to the right. Here you can think about using the inhale to find length, using the exhale to go deeper into the twist. We'll use a breath for a transition here. Big, deep inhale. And as we exhale, we'll lift the arms up and over, dropping to the other side. Again, finding that inhale can offer you some length, offer you and your spine that alignment that it needs to go deeper on the exhale, twisting all the way to the left. And again, we'll take a nice big deep inhale here to transition out of this pose on the exhale. Let's place the feet together. And you can grab the ankles, you can grab the toes, finding some length on the spine here on an inhale. And on the exhale, we'll just fold forward for a moment, thinking about reaching the chest toward the floor, going as far as you can. And once you've found the depths of this position, you can round the spine, stretching the hands out farther overhead to support you. Noticing any sensations in the hips before we get into stretching the outer hips, the piriformis. Just notice the sensations, maybe noticing how we feel in the lower back, maybe in the legs, the hamstrings. So let's press back up. Again, finding length in the spine. We'll stretch both legs out this time. And just alternate back and forth, locking the knees, contracting both legs. Just notice how they feel at the start of this flow. Maybe giving the thighs a gentle massage. To warm up the ankles a bit, we'll alternate flex and point. And this time, let's point the ankle foot toe as much as you can. And again, find that contraction in the knees and the thighs. And then we'll lean forward, opening up the hamstrings just a little bit, very gently, finding that slow, controlled breath. If you feel any uncomfortable sensations in the lower spine, you can just come up a little bit more and try to press the chest forward instead. And we'll release, coming back up. From here, we'll meet in tabletop. I'll suggest taking a sip of water before we move forward. And I always suggest supporting your knees with a blanket or a thin pillow. So from here in tabletop, we're stacking the knees below the hips, the wrists below the shoulders. And find our inhale, pressing the chest forward, reaching the hips up and back for cow. Trying not to send the chin too far from the chest. And then finding the opposite of that, rounding the spine, sending the chin to the chest, tucking the hips forward. Inhale again, reach the chest forward, hips up and back. Exhale to round the spine for cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. One more time, inhaling, press the chest forward, reach the hips even back further. And on your slow exhale, rounding the spine. And we'll come back to neutral. Let's send back the right leg, tucking the toes. You can bounce into this. Opening up the calf. And we'll drop the right knee down. Let's do the same thing on the other side. And release. Let's point the toes, touch the toes behind us and send the hips over the ankles. We'll reach the hands far overhead, resting the forehead on the mat. And let's take this moment again to find that breath. Find that deep, long inhale. Releasing on the exhale, sinking deeper into the floor. And you can find that length in the breath. When the breath is slowed, it tells your body everything's okay, I am safe, I can release, relax. And from here, we'll start to crawl the hands to the upper right side, reaching that left hand especially forward, so far away from you, reaching the left hip down and back, stretching out the left side of the back. From here, you can crawl toward the center, over to the upper left side, stretching that right hand forward, especially crawling it forward against the floor, pressing the palm to the floor as you reach the right hips, that right hip down and back. And then crawl back to center. Take a moment here just to release. When you're ready, we'll press back up into tabletop. From here, we're going to send both legs back, tucking both the toes for plank. You can either stay here, one modification you can take, as well as to lower the knees down and untuck the toes. Either way, we'll find this moment just for a couple breaths, noticing how we feel in the lower back. Breathing into that sensation, sending the breath down into the core. And when you're ready, if you haven't yet, you can lower the knees, untuck the toes, lower the hips, the chest, the shoulders. Finding a deep inhale here. And on your exhale, we'll press up into Sphinx, elbows beneath the shoulders, pressing the hands into one another. Here you can press the hips forward into the mat, clenching in the whole lower body, really contracting, finding the strength in the lower back, pressing the upper body upward, keeping the breath in the core. Maybe we're pointing the toes, locking the knees, pressing the hips into the floor, opening the chest and the heart, open throat, finding as much space as we can here between the ears and the shoulders, finding that length in the neck as a continuation of the spine, really engaging in the lower back. When you're ready, we can inhale here And find a deep restorative exhale to rest the head down onto the floor. Inhaling here. And on your exhale, we'll press back into child's pose. Taking a couple breaths here. Notice the sensations, again, in the lower spine. Again, we'll reach the hands to the upper left side, stretching that left palm forward, crawling it as far away as we can, and reaching the left hip down and back. Maybe notice how this feels after finding that warmth, that contraction, the engagement in the lower spine from Sphinx. Crawling through center, over to the upper left side. Keep that right hip reaching down and back. Again, notice the sensations here after we've warmed up these muscles. And when you're ready, we'll crawl back through center. Big, deep inhale here. And on the exhale, we'll sit the body up. From here, if you have your support pillows or blankets, I want to suggest two things. You can do both or just one, whatever feels good. I like to roll up the blanket to go just beneath my ankles. So this fills in that gap of space. And then filling in this space, allowing the hips to have some support, as long as it's not too much on the feet. Here, once you find yourself here, you can find length in the spine. Take some time to roll the shoulders up and back, opening up in the chest, open up in the shoulders. And once you're here, we'll inhale to raise the arms up overhead. Exhale to swan dive down, reaching the head toward the mat. You can clasp the hands behind the back. Take an inhale here on the floor. And on the exhale, we'll slowly roll up the spine from the lower, middle, releasing the hands, upper. Roll the shoulders again to get to the top. Again, inhaling, arms up overhead. Exhale to swan dive down, reaching the hands to clasp behind the back. This time we can flip the palms upward toward the ceiling, and we'll take a couple breaths here. On your next exhale, we'll release the hands. Inhale again. And on the exhale, we'll roll up again. Lower spine, middle, and upper. Let's inhale to roll the shoulders up. Exhale back down. Inhale, shoulders up. Exhale back down, opening up these spaces. Inhaling again, arms up overhead. Exhale again, swan dive down, forehead to mat, clasping the hands, flipping those palms up toward the ceiling. This time, let's try to engage a little bit by opening up in the chest. Finding that slow, controlled breath, sending it toward the core. From this moment on, we'll clasp the hands, allowing the palms to touch one another. And again, find that engagement, pressing up, and away with those palms. And when you're ready, release. We'll exhale here to roll up the spine, lower, middle, and upper. From here, we'll send the arms out wide, crossing the right over the left. You can give yourself a big hug. And then bend in the left arm, straightening out the right, so it should look like this. We'll open the arms wide again. This time crossing the left over the right. Give yourself a big hug. And we'll bend in the right, straightening out the left. Keep that left shoulder down. And from here, let's drop the right hand, raise the left arm up, bending the elbow, reaching the hand back to pat your back. Here, if you have access to it, you can reach around with the right arm to clasp with the left. And if not, you can use this right hand to pull the elbow down as long as the chest, the shoulders are open. Lengthen the spine, engaging with the breath. Settling into the stretch. And on these next couple of breaths, I'll invite us to press the left elbow down. So working toward pressing the left elbow down. Maybe it's against your hand this way. Maybe it's by pulling some kind of isometric tension between both hands behind your back. Or bringing some engagement into the stretch. And when you're ready, switch sides. So right hand goes back to pat the back, and the left hand is either pulling open with the right elbow or clasping behind the back. Again, keeping that breath slow and controlled. Stay here. And again, from here, find that engagement by pressing the right elbow away as you pull. Making sure you feel relaxed in the neck. And when you're ready, release. Heel, roll the shoulders up again on an inhale and exhale. Relax. Let's shake it out a little bit. Moving the support, transitioning back into where we would for tabletop. And here we can place the support just a couple inches above the knee. Here in tabletop, again, we want to check in with our stack. And then this time we will tuck both toes without straightening out the legs and find a very, very bent knee downward dog. A very, very bent knee downward dog. Here we can bounce into this and maybe stretch both of the legs back. Reaching the heels toward the floor. And let's bring both knees back down to the floor. From here, we're going to take this right leg, lifting up the right knee, swing that right foot over in front of your support. And here we're just getting into the hip a little bit by stretching the left knee back. You can kind of crawl back with your toes a little bit And go just as far as feels comfortable for you. We're opening up the hip, pressing the left hip forward, maybe pressing the toes, the bottom of the foot of the right side into the floor, breathing into the sensation here. On your next exhale, we'll tuck the toes for this lunge, pressing the left hip forward a little bit deeper. And if you have access to it, you can come up to a high lunge. I like to stretch the left arm up and over if I'm reaching the left foot back, finding more elongation here in the front body, pressing the left hip forward. Whenever you're ready to come down, you can. From here, we'll release the knee into the floor, and we're going to step, kind of stretch back for this right side, the hamstring. Push your pillow, your support forward a little bit so that it has some support. You're raising up the ankle a little bit more from the floor. And here you can use your pillows as support, pressing the chest forward. If you feel comfortable and you can round the spine, releasing the head toward the floor, whatever feels good for you here. As long as we are flexing in the ankle foot toe and pressing that ankle, the heel into the support. So engaging that right side into the pillow, breathing into the sensation here. And when you're ready, we'll step back down onto the floor, reaching the left side back with a lunge by tucking the toes. And again, after our next exhale, we'll release the knee into the floor, untuck the toes behind us, reaching back again, straightening the right side. This time we're going to turn the toes out to the right. Noticing maybe a new sensation in some different muscles here as we bend forward. We're accessing the IT band, the outer right side of the hamstring. Finding that complete exhale, if you're rounding forward, can feel really good. When you're ready, you can point those toes back up toward the ceiling. Drop that foot down. We'll take both hands and frame the foot. Kind of wiggle your knee forward if you need to send that right foot back. Dropping the right knee down to meet the left. We'll take a couple cat-cows here, pressing the chest forward. And on the exhale, round the spine. Reaching up with the middle spine. Rounding as deep as we can. Inhaling again, reach the chest forward. Exhale, round the spine. One more time to inhale, slowly taking your time. Exhale, round the spine. Let's come back to a neutral spine. We'll take this left foot, drop it up ahead of our pillow. And again, we're going to wiggle the knee back for a lunge. Again, maybe pressing this right foot down, pressing the left foot down, the entirety of the foot, pressing the right hip forward. The sound of the heat is really interesting. Breathing into the sensation, opening up the hip flexor on the right side. And if you feel ready for it, you can tuck the toe, coming up to a lunge. Finding that tension, kind of pulling both of the feet in toward one another. If you'd like, you can come up to high lunge. And again, I suggest stretching the right arm this time, up and back, finding that length in the muscles. And whenever you're ready, you can come back down to frame the foot, release the knee, untuck the toe. From here, we'll stretch the left hamstring, pressing our pillow a little bit more forward to support the ankle. Again, here you can fold forward if that feels good for you, or you can just keep yourself propped up, pressing the chest forward, flexing in the foot, or pressing that heel into the pillow. Here, if we were to work toward just lengthening the muscles, we could press ourselves into this. We could fold forward as much as possible and try to press into the stretch. But that's not really going to give us much of the benefits of mobility itself, of being able to use the leg and use the hamstrings in ways that allow us actual movement. That would only allow us to just be in that stretch. Let's take this foot back down to the floor, straightening out the right leg, pressing the right hip forward. So when we think about that isometric tension, we think about how we're pressing the hip forward and pressing the right foot into the floor, pulling the feet both toward one another. We're finding the strength we actually need to be flexible. Flexibility is often written off as just falling into or being pressed into a stretch. And that's just not the case. So this time we'll reach back, pointing the toes to the left. And with the sentiment of mobility versus flexibility, we'll be pressing that ankle into the floor to the support, building the strength that we need to find length in the muscles rather than pressing ourselves into it. Let's point the toes back up toward the ceiling, dropping the left foot down to the floor. We'll find just one moment again here on this side. And then we'll crawl the knee forward beneath the hip. We'll send that left knee back down to meet the right. This time we're going to get into the arms, allowing that pillow to stay right where it is. If you have any extras to stack higher, I would suggest that. If you have pillows that are super low to the ground, I think it would just be really, it will allow you to stretch a little bit deeper into this if it's just a little bit further from the floor like my pillow is here. So here we're going to go into pretty much a child's pose. So we'll point the toes behind us, stretch the hips over. And once you rest your head down into the floor, we're thinking about this kind of open chest moment. Something that can feel good is clasping both hands on opposite elbows. Something that can also feel good is clasping the hands into each other and then bringing the wrist down below. So finding what feels comfortable for you here, pressing the forehead toward the floor, noticing how this feels in child's pose with a rounded spine. Finding that slow, controlled breath while you're here. And when you're ready, we'll press back up. This time, we're going to do the same pose in starting from tabletop. So press the pillow a little bit forward, and find that stack again from the knees just below the hips and the wrists just below the shoulders. And have that pillow right on top of the hands here to kind of make sure that your elbows will fall into alignment. Find those elbows right on top of the pillow, and sending the hips up and back this time. We'll find that forehead down toward the floor. Push forward a little more. All right, so this time we're in this pose, finding a little more length in the spine, keeping the hips up and back. My shoulders personally don't have very much mobility, so this pose is a little bit intense for me, but I'm still using that tension to kind of press the elbows a little bit into the pillow rather than just letting myself fall into the stretch. Whenever you're ready, we'll press back up, pressing the hands back into the floor for tabletop. And just press both hands into the floor and notice the sensations in the shoulders. And from here, before we get into our final hamstring stretches, we'll tuck both the toes behind us again, going into a very bent downward dog again, pedaling both the feet back, reaching the heels toward the floor. If you want to find a full expression of downward dog here, you're welcome to. And when you're ready, we'll lower the knees back down for tabletop. Let's bring the pillow back toward us again. And here we're swinging we'll go to the right side, swinging the right foot back in front, just like in our lunge. Framing the foot with both hands, reaching that knee a little bit back, further a little bit back. And this time we're going to think about how to find that same length in the spine as we fold forward over the right side. So we're going to tuck the toes behind us, sending that leg up, and then straighten in that right leg here. And instead of rounding the spine like we would in child's pose, try to find that length using the pillow if you can to give you a little bit more support. So here we're needing to support our weight with some balance and to keep us up as we're stretching over this right side hamstring. You can think about really pressing into the floor, pressing energy into the floor with the right foot, maybe reaching up and back with the right hip. Sending the breath into the hamstrings. And when you're ready, we'll bend back down into a lunge, allowing the knee to drop down, bending in the right side, checking in with the stack. We'll first press the left hip forward again. And then if a split is a part of your practice by chance, or if you want to bring splits into your practice, allowing that pillow to stay here, this is like key, I would say, the support that you need to go into kind of intense stretches like this. So if you have enough pillows to support you, you want to straighten out that right leg, dropping onto your pillow, and maybe you need a stack that's just a bit higher. Maybe you don't fully straighten out both legs. It's okay to kind of have a bend. Something I would say to pay attention to if you're working into a split or if splits are already a part of your practice, again, is keeping that kind of tension between both legs, one, and two, really paying attention to the knees. So if you're flexing your right foot, making sure that that knee is locked. If you're pointing the right foot, making sure that knee is locked. You really want to protect the knee. I like to suggest, finding that contraction in both legs and keeping that tension, right? Because falling into it or being pressed into this kind of position can be really harmful in the joints. So we'll press back up into our lunge. This time, if we can frame the foot and bring the right hand on the inside, opening up the hip a little bit, we can press into the hip before we send the right foot back to meet the left for plank. We'll take a breath here. Breathing toward the hips, into the sensations in the hips. And then lower the knees down. We'll send the left foot forward this time. Again, finding that lunge, we can stretch the right foot back. Press the right hip into the floor. And then top of the toe, popping up into a lunge. Again, we are going to straighten the left foot, straighten the left leg, find your support, and find that length in the spine. Trying not to fold over too much. Keeping the hips squared, reaching the left up and back. Pressing that energy from the left foot into the floor. When you're ready, we'll release by bending into the left leg, dropping down the right knee. And again, and both sides will feel very different. If splits are a part of your practice, you want to get into them. Again, stacking pillows until you feel supported enough to release your weight. So, my left side is very tight. And I need more pillows for this that I don't have. So I'm going to try to turn this one. Ooh, that's it. Yeah. This is where I'm at. And again, if you're flexing, really, really flex. If you're pointing, really, really point. Find the length. Find this contraction in the knees, in the thighs. Really breathe into it. I think support with these poses are really everything. If you don't have the support that you need, you will not go deeper. And I love that metaphor for life and experiences, especially in community. We just cannot go deeper if we don't have the support that we need. It'll just feel painful. Finding the last couple breaths here. When you're ready, we'll press out of this by bending in that left knee. Again, crawl the left foot out, bring both hands to the inside, and just open up the hip for a moment. Pressing the hip downward, pressing all points of the foot into the floor. And then going into our last plank, reaching that left foot back. Going into our plank, again, a modification you can do here is to lower the knees down. I'm going to stay up here, sending the breath into the core. And now lower the knees down. We'll take a final child's pose. You can remove the pillows, touch the toes behind you, and reach the hands up overhead. allowing the head to rest onto the floor. Here you can allow the exhales to allow you to feel heavier. And whenever you're ready, we'll meet on our backs. If you have your blanket for some support, I would suggest putting it flat for now, beneath the back, or the lower back. So dropping my hips down right at the edge of the blanket, and laying down this way. We'll take a final stretch here before we go into Shavasana. Here we are reaching the knees toward the chest, toward the toward the armpits, and then grab the back, the outsides or the insides of the feet, flexing both feet, and try to stack the ankles above the knees. It's okay if you can't find a full stack. And once you do that, try to reach the spine to go flat against the floor. Pressing open the hips. And from here, of course, what I'll invite is some isometric tension. Rather than trying to pull ourselves, tighten ourselves into this pose, we're gonna press against our hands, reaching outward this way with the feet, but keeping the pose with our hands, keeping us contained in this shape, but also using the isometric tension to build the mobility that we need in the hips. You can release that isometric tension. Press one more time, just for a couple breaths here. And then release. In just a moment to round in the spine a little bit deeper, you can release the hands. Try to send the knees back by your head. If you can't, you can use your hands kind of below the hips to send the hips up into the air. You can straighten the legs back like plow pose like this. Or you can try to bend the knees, it's up to you. Either way, we're trying to find this rounding in the spine. And while we're here, you can roll up the blanket beneath you. This will be support for your back. When you're ready, you can drop down, allowing that natural curve in the spine to meet your blanket for Shavasana. Once you're in Shavasana, making sure that your limbs are laid out comfortably. We'll take this moment to relax, to release the weight into the floor. I'll invite us into 3 deep inhales into the belly, breathing in. And as we breathe out, let's relax the lower back, releasing the hips deeper into the floor. Inhaling again to feel weightless. And exhale, relax the shoulders, the elbows, the hands. Inhale one more time. And our collective exhale, relax the neck, releasing tension in the eyebrows, and the ears. In the jaw. Taking a moment of silence here in Shavasana, I'll invite us to reflect. Whatever it is roaming around in the mind, what is it like to reflect on whatever that is? Taking a minute to step away from engaging with the thoughts themselves, just notice and reflect on the thoughts. Maybe you can pull back, releasing yourself from the thoughts, just settling into how you see yourself in them. As we come out of our last few breaths in Shavasana, I'll invite us to bring our attention back to the body, opening up the eyes, maybe taking a look around the room. Continuing this breath, notice how you can reflect here on what you see, maybe what you can taste, smell, feel. Take a minute to notice how you can see yourself in these sensations. How can you reflect? For just a moment, seeing the external world as a mirror. Where do you notice self? Breathing into this on a collective inhale in. And you can sigh on the exhale, letting it out. You can wiggle in the fingers, wiggle the toes. Take a moment to roll over to one side, finding just a minute for comfort before sitting up for our closing breaths. Once you're seated, let's find some length in the spine. Roll the shoulders back. You can close your eyes and find a soft gaze, resting the hands on the knees, over the heart, or at heart center. And I'll invite us into our 4 closing breaths. A breath for the ancestors that we all bring into this space and into our practice, breathing in and out. A breath for those ancestors that were stolen and those stolen from, breathing in and out. A breath to notice, to be centering ourselves at the end of this practice today, breathing in and out. And a final breath to take this presence, this centeredness into the rest of our day, breathing in and out. The loving human in me bows down to the loving human in you. Namaste. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for practicing today. Thank you for taking care of your body. Remembering as you stretch throughout your day, taking a little ooh or a little ooh, ooh, this feels nice. Notice how you might feel tempted to just press yourself into the stretch. Think about how you can bring a little bit of that isometric tension, how you can bring some, care and attention to the joints, how you can bring some length into the muscles by actually engaging rather than falling into. So DM if you have any comments or concerns or suggestions, and we love feedback. Share and like and subscribe, and again, check out Providence Community Library's YouTube for the other virtual offerings that they have going on. Thanks. Peace and love.